Hey everyone, and welcome to this deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at something I think we all struggle with from time to time, and that's sadness. And how prayer can maybe help us work through those feelings. We've got this YouTube video we're going to be taking a look at today, and it features a prayer specifically designed to help find peace and joy when you're feeling down, and I think it's something we can all relate to.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what's interesting about this video is it doesn't just launch right into the prayer. It actually starts with this whole section on preparing yourself mentally.
Yeah, it really does emphasize taking time to find a quiet place, relaxing, breathing deeply. It even says feel yourself inside. You observe your emotions. Observe your thoughts and contemplate yourself. I thought that was really fascinating.
It is. It's recognizing that prayer isn't just about words, you know? It's really about a state of being, and this mindfulness practice, it helps you become present and aware.
Yeah.
Which in turn can make your connection to the prayer, and maybe even something beyond that, much deeper.
So it's setting the stage for a more powerful experience.
Right.
And once you're in that space, the prayer itself is structured as a direct conversation with Jesus. And it acknowledges that he understands your sadness and where it comes from, which feels very personal.
Yeah, that direct address is really powerful because it taps into this longing for connection, you know, and understanding when you're feeling sad. Sometimes that's all you really want is to feel seen and heard. And so beginning the prayer this way can be very comforting.
Then there's this really striking image that appears in the video of Jesus placing his hands on your mind and emotions releasing you from sadness and melancholy.
It's powerful.
Yeah.
That visual for many people can be profoundly healing, you know? It speaks to this desire for relief, for this tangible experience of comfort, even if it's imagined. It can evoke a sense of peace, a feeling of burdens being lifted.
And it goes beyond just seeking comfort. The prayer actually asks for the strength to become a triumphator in love. So it's framing overcoming sadness as a victory, which is a pretty cool way to look at it.
Yeah, it is. Because often when we're struggling, just getting through the day can feel like a huge accomplishment. So this wording reframes the experience. You know, it's not just about enduring the sadness. It's about actively moving towards love and joy. It's a call to action in a way.
I like that. The video then talks about calling upon the celestial court angels and the Virgin Mary for help. It's interesting how it brings in that larger sense of support beyond just an individual connection with Jesus.
Yeah, it reflects that Catholic tradition of seeking intercession. You know, the idea is that these figures closer to God can amplify your prayers and offer additional support and comfort. It emphasizes that you're not alone in your struggles. There's a whole spiritual community behind you.
And this prayer doesn't shy away from expressing the depths of that sadness. It even says, I am saturated with misfortunes and my life is on the edge of the abyss. That rawness felt very real.
Honesty is so important in prayer. You know, sometimes we try to present this perfect version of ourselves, but true connection, even with the divine, comes from authenticity. Admitting your pain, your fears, allows you to release them and open yourself up to healing. It's like letting go of a breath you've been holding for too long.
And then there's this beautiful shift from despair to hope. The prayer asks, turn my lament into dance. Transform my depression and my sadness into joy. It's like it's calling for a total transformation.
That shift is where the real power of this prayer lies. It's acknowledging that even in the darkest moments, there's a spark of hope, a possibility for joy. And by expressing that desire for transformation, you're taking an active role in your own healing.
Forgiveness is another key theme that emerges. The prayer emphasizes forgiving both yourself and others as a pathway to finding that joy.
Forgiveness is incredibly difficult, but it's also incredibly liberating when you hold on to anger and resentment. It keeps you stuck in the past. Forgiving yourself and others allows you to move forward and create space for new experiences, new emotions.
It's like you're clearing out the emotional clutter to make room for something new.
Exactly. And what's interesting is how the prayer then connects forgiveness to living in the present moment and releasing that anxiety about the future.
It's such a powerful link. Because often when we're holding on to the past, it makes us fearful of the future as well.
It's like a vicious cycle. So this prayer is encouraging you to break free from both ends, you know, to forgive, to be present, and to trust that whatever the future holds, you'll have the strength to face it.
This is so much more than just a prayer. It's almost like a guide to shifting your entire mindset.
That's a great observation. And speaking of mindset shifts, the prayer closes with this beautiful message of finding joy in the present day and walking with divine protection.
It's like a reminder that even when things are tough, you're not alone. You have those resources within you and the support from above to navigate through any challenge.
Exactly. And that sense of support, that faith, can be a powerful antidote to sadness.
It really can.
Mhm.
That sense of support and protection that the prayer evokes, it's like it's saying, hey, you're not alone in this,
Yeah.
in this fight against sadness.
Absolutely. And it goes even deeper than that. We often think of prayer as something we do when we need help. But this prayer suggests it's also about actively participating in our own healing.
So it's not just about asking for things, it's about changing ourselves.
Exactly.
Hmm.
It's about taking responsibility for our own well-being while also acknowledging that we need help along the way. And one of the most powerful ways to tap into that help, as the prayer highlights, is through forgiveness.
Yeah, it really emphasizes letting go of past hurts and resentments. But honestly, that's much easier said than done. How do we actually practice forgiveness, especially when those wounds run so deep?
It's a process for sure. And it starts with honesty, with acknowledging the hurt, the anger, the resentment, whatever you're carrying,
Yeah,
because you can't release something you haven't fully faced.
like bringing those feelings into the light so you can actually see them.
Right. And once you've acknowledged those feelings, you can start to explore what forgiveness might look like for you. And it's important to remember that forgiveness doesn't mean condoning the actions that hurt you. It's about choosing to release the grip that those negative emotions have on you.
So it's not about the other person, it's about freeing yourself.
Precisely. Forgiving someone doesn't mean saying what they did was okay. It means recognizing that holding on to anger and resentment is only hurting you. It's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
Wow, that's a powerful way to put it. And this idea of letting go connects back to the prayer's emphasis on living in the present moment
Yeah.
and releasing anxiety about the future.
Yes. Worry and anxiety often stem from trying to control things that are outside our control, especially things in the future. We ruminate on the past project fears onto the future, and we miss the beauty of what's right in front of us.
It's like we're so busy trying to control the uncontrollable that we forget to actually live.
This prayer is a reminder to stop fighting the tide and instead to learn to swim in the present moment. Find those little pockets of joy and gratitude in the everyday.
That's where mindfulness comes in, right? Paying attention to the little things like the warmth of the sun, the sound of laughter, the taste of good food.
Exactly. It's about shifting your focus from what's wrong to what's right, from what you lack to what you have. And the more you practice gratitude, the more those feelings of joy and peace become a natural part of your experience.
Like rewiring your brain to tune into a more positive frequency. And speaking of positivity, the prayer ends with this beautiful image of finding joy in the present day and walking with divine protection.
This closing message is so powerful because it combines the practical with the spiritual. It's a reminder that you have the power within you to choose joy while also acknowledging that you're not alone in this journey.
Like a perfect blend of personal responsibility and faith. You're taking action, but you're also trusting that there's a higher power guiding and supporting you.
And that trust, that faith, can be incredibly empowering, especially when you're facing challenges. It allows you to tap into a source of strength that's always available no matter what you're going through.
This has been such a rich exploration of the prayer. So far, we've talked about mindfulness, honesty, forgiveness, choosing joy, and this amazing blend of personal growth and faith.
And we've only just scratched the surface. There's so much more to unpack in terms of how this prayer can be a practical guide for navigating those difficult times and ultimately transforming sadness into something beautiful.
When you said we've only scratched the surface, that really stuck with me. It feels like this prayer is offering more than just a temporary fix for sadness, like it's pointing to a much deeper transformation.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And what struck me is how it focuses on replacing the sadness with something else entirely, rather than just trying to eliminate it. It's not about denial, it's about creating space for something new to emerge.
Yeah, it's like that saying, nature abhors a vacuum, right? If you just try to force out sadness without filling that space with something else, that's likely to rush right back in.
Exactly. And what this prayer does so beautifully is offer a blueprint for that something else. It encourages you to cultivate joy, embrace forgiveness, practice mindfulness. It's about actively shaping your inner landscape.
It even uses that line, turn my lament into dance, transform my depression and sadness into joy. It's not passive. It's a call to action.
It is. And that active transformation starts with a shift in perspective, Instead of dwelling on what's making you sad, you start to look for those glimmers of hope, those moments of beauty, reasons to be grateful. It's a subtle shift, but it's profound.
It's like choosing to focus on the light instead of the shadows. But how do you actually make that shift when you're feeling so bogged down by sadness it can feel really overwhelming.
Yeah, it's not easy, that's for sure. But one thing that can help is remembering that you have a choice. You can choose to dwell in the darkness, or you can choose to seek out the light. And that choice, even if it's just a tiny spark, is where the transformation begins.
It's like taking that first step on a journey, even if you can't see the destination yet. And this prayer is like a map guiding you along the way.
That's a wonderful way to put it. And remember, you don't have to take this journey alone. The prayer emphasizes calling upon Jesus' celestial court angels Mary. It's acknowledging that there's a whole spiritual support system available to you.
So it's combining that inner work, the shift in perspective,
Yeah.
with a sense of reliance on something greater than yourself. It's a beautiful blend of action and surrender.
Exactly. And as you practice these principles that are outlined in this prayer, you'll likely find that joy becomes less of a fleeting emotion and more of a state of being. It's not about waiting for happiness to find you, it's about cultivating it from within.
That makes me think of like practicing joy, like it's a skill you can develop, a muscle you can strengthen.
It is. And the more you practice, the more naturally those feelings of joy, peace, and gratitude will arise. It becomes less about the external circumstances and more about your internal state.
This has been such an incredible deep dive into the power of prayer to transform sadness. We've uncovered so many layers, from the importance of mindfulness and forgiveness to the idea of actively cultivating joy and seeking support from the divine.
It's been a really enriching conversation, and I hope that our listeners feel empowered to embrace this prayer as a tool for their own journeys of healing and transformation.
We've all experienced sadness at some point, but this deep dive has offered a path forward, a reminder that we have the power within us and the support around us to move through those difficult times and emerge even stronger.
And who knows, maybe even find a little joy along the way.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us on this journey of exploration, and until next time, keep seeking the light.